Hello and welcome to the first episode of PIMP my cosplay, where I take a board cosplay and give it an upgrade. Today I'm gonna give some love to this Tanya cosplay. But first, look at this shit. There's a lot we can improve here, so let's get into it. We will start by making some of the details. To make buttons, grab yourself a piece of wobbler. Use a heat gun to warm it up, squeeze it together and make a wobbler sausage. Cut your freshly made wobbler sausage into 2 equal pieces and shape them into balls. Keep reshaping the wobbler until it has a flat bottom and the right shape. Reheat the wobbler and find something round and flat like a pencil to make a dent into the wobbler. Once you're happy with the result, let's move on to Tanya's badge. For this, I'm using white wobbler. It has a finer texture, which is better for details. I simply cut out a piece of the wobbler in the size I wanted the badge. Then I used a sculpting tool to make the details on the edges. Reheat the wobbler and again use a sculpting tool or whatever you have at hand to make the lines on the wobbler. I decided it wasn't quite thick enough, so I cut out another piece to smack at the bottom of the other. And if you have some excess wobbler, just cut it off. Go back with a sculpting tool and correct the edges. Now let's move on, shall we? Trace and cut out a circle of the white wobbler. To get the dome shape, find a round small object to shape the wobbler on. Cut out a thin stripe of the wobbler. This we're gonna heat up and make into an edge for the dome. Just snap off the excess wobbler and reshape with a sculpting tool. To make the other details for the badge, make a template out of paper and use that to trace all of the other pieces. Or simply use the parchment paper method, so you will have the lines directly on your wobbler. Then cut out the pieces and again use sculpting tools to make the details. And again, I felt like it was a little bit too thin, so I cut out another piece to reinforce it. You know the drill by now, going in with a sculpting tool to make those sweet details. Just repeat the process for the last details of the badge. And now we can finally assemble the parts. Just reheat the wobbler and gently push the parts together. Once everything is in place, we can move on to the next step. You can use whatever you prefer for priming, Mod Podge, wood glue or plastic dip, whatever is fine. Just make sure you give them a good amount of coats. Well, not literally coats, but you know, layers of glue. Okay, let's move on. Spray paint all of your parts with silver. To give the badge some more dimension, start by mixing some black with the silver. This way the shadows won't be too harsh. First, you want to give it a layer of silver paint so the surface is wet. Then go in with the dark silver and paint around the edges. Then go back in with the silver paint to blend in the 2 colors so you get a smooth transition. Repeat this process on every edge and corner of the badge. Once that is done, we can move on to the blue color. As you can see here, I'm mixing my blue with some grey and silver. This way it looks a lot more like metal. Keep adjusting your color until you're satisfied. Start by painting a layer of the blue paint on the dome. Then, just as before, use a darker tone to blend in around the edges. Finish off with a clear layer of spray paint. For the buttons, it's just the same procedure. So let's move on to the hat. Again, this is what we have to deal with, so let's get right into it. The first thing we're going to do is to rearrange the ribbons around the rim. Since they have been hot glued on, we can use a heat gun to remove them. Reheat the glue with a heat gun, and if you need a little extra, go in with your own glue gun. Then gently place the ribbon around the edge. Keep using your fingers to smooth it out, and if the glue dries up, give it some more heat. The result won't be perfect, but it's still a lot better than what we started with. This might not be a problem for you, but my hat had an odd shape, so to correct this, I used a heat gun to shape it back to normal. To finish off the hat, just glue on the buttons we made earlier. Just like earlier when we gave our wobbler parts dimension with darker tones, we're gonna do the same to our pants and jacket. The only difference here is that the paint has been thinned out with water. So just apply the paint where shadows would fall or around edges. Or if you have an airbrush at hand, you can use that instead. The airbrush is also great for shading the belt. Apparently, my camera didn't film when I made the cross with the red stone. Bitch. But it was just a piece of 2mm EVA foam with a stone of resin. Anyway, to finish off the cosplay, glue on the parts we made earlier. Also, I felt like this white ribbon was a bit too thick. So I simply removed it and replaced it with a thinner one. That was all. Here is how the cosplay turned out. Minus the belt, I lost that at a photo shoot. Thanks for watching the video. If you learned a thing or two, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more tutorials or cosplay sketches, feel free to subscribe. And I hope to see you in another video.